on the job, they'll be replaced.
Where is it?
Whatever.
What constitutes a quorum? 3 of us? Okay, we'll put this out in the car.
Matt, just so you know, I'm going to turn off your video until it's time for you to speak, okay?
You still say.
We actually have 4 minutes.
You might what's going on is that back home.
Nothing more. My son's moving back up.
No more kids.
Oh, no, I do have a memorial service Saturday. No, or maid of honor for our wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was just 6 about a year. Wow. That's way a couple of stuff. And my son's birthday was mine.
Meeting of it's the 1,418th meeting of the Board of Directors of Fair Oaks Recreation Park District. John, would you lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance?
I sure will. Pledge allegiance to the United States. I can't hear it.
Oh, start again.
Pledge allegiance to the United States, the flag of the United States, and to the republic which stands.
One nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Jennifer, may I call the roll, please?
Yes, Vice Chair Carhart.
Here.
Director O'Farrell.
Here.
Director Tamanini. Here. Director Irwin
As you just messaged.
will be, is absent, and Chair Mounts is also absent.
Okay, thank you. At this point, we have the opportunity in the agenda for audience public comment on items that are not on tonight's agenda. Anyone who would like to address the board on any subject within our jurisdiction as the Recreation Park District may have up to 3 minutes to make their presentation. If the matter requires board action, then that will be referred to staff or committee for a report and action at a subsequent meeting. Is there anybody?
Not yet, but if anybody online would like to make a comment, it's just raise your hand or let us know in the chat. Nope.
Okay, hearing none, I call for a motion for approval of the agenda.
I'll move to approve.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Consent calendar. Are there any questions on the consent calendar? These are items that are considered routine. We act upon them with single motion. No separate discussions needed. Do we have a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve the consent calendar.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Yes, thank you. Okay, we move right on to our agenda items here. First is a monthly report from the Fair Oaks Youth Advisory Board.
Yes, Mr. Carhart, they do not have a representative here to give that report this evening.
Okay,
Skip that.
this promises to be a rather short meeting. Okay, item 7.2 is approval of the fiscal year 2023-2024 capital improvement plan. Looks like Sean will address that.
Yes, good evening, Board of Directors. I'm Sean Ventura, Parks and Facilities Manager. Coming before you today to talk about the capital improvement plan. We have a document ready for you that is a proposed 2023-2024 fiscal year capital improvement plan, capital budget worksheet. We feel that these improvements are necessary for the district. There are some that are things that you're aware of already, such as the Phoenix Park Master Plan and the Phoenix Park Central Area Development, which is a bit of a mouthful as far as labeling goes. We did meet with the committee to go over these items, and we received approval from that group. I really don't have a heck of a lot to add to the overall report that was provided to you, but I am here in case you have any questions on the worksheet or comments I can answer or anything like that.
Can I interrupt? Of course. If you're looking at the capital budget worksheet, the 2023-24, the number 5 item, district vehicle, yeah, you'll see a 50,000. It's in support of our maintenance for the arts and entertainment and the park and stuff. You'll see it's under general fund, and in lieu, I'd like to actually add Measure J as well as possible that we might be utilizing those funds.
Does the board have any questions about any of this for Sean?
Had a presentation once before, and you and I had our meeting with that staff. We were supportive of where we want to go.
I have no further questions.
Okay, then let's go back to the report here. We need a motion to approve the 3-year capital improvement plan for 24, 22, 27.
I will make the motion to approve the fiscal year 2023-24 capital improvement plan as provided by staff, recommended by our district administrator.
Question though, the recommendation is the attached 2024 to 2027 3-year plan. Is that what you need approval of?
No, that's just so you know that there's other items there. That's the long-term plan. Each year we come back to you, either moving those items up or replacing them or whatever we need to do. So it's just a good vision of what we're looking forward to.
So John's motion is correct, not the recommendation in the report.
Yes.
Yeah, okay, just making sure.
I'm reading from the agenda.
Okay. I'm checking with Sean, making sure we have.
Oh, okay. I'm looking at the staff report here.
I mean, you can approve the whole
Interesting.
thing in concept, but the major approval is for the 23.
And if you'll look on the capital budget worksheet, you have a lot of items outlined in green that are part of potential future projects. And typically in the past, we run on a 3-year cycle. And those other projects we've identified would be rolled into future fiscal year plans for the capital improvement plan.
Got it. Yeah, I understand that. I was just wondering why the staff report recommendation said approve the attached 2024 through 2027 3-year capital improvement plan. But John's motion is correct. Do we have a second?
I will second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Okay. Item 7.3. Or
I'm sorry, 3.
you are moving your head. Okay, item 7.3 is a construction and maintenance easement agreement for SMUD. Who's going to present that?
I'll present that. I'm just asking for authorization to enter into a construction and maintenance easement with Sacramento Municipal Utility District. That would be a 5-foot construction and maintenance easement in Village Plaza Park. It's just for utilities. It's a common practice, but it is something the board has to authorize and sign.
Is this for underground utilities?
This part is underground. Yes.
And just out of curiosity, where is that? Is it just one easement?
For this time, it's just one easement, correct? You'll see another one.
Okay. Whereabouts out of curiosity?
This is coming from. It's coming from.
Is this the one along California Street that replaces the?
Yes, this is the California.
Okay.
Yes. I was trying to think of it as part, and it's not because we have a one of the small issues Park Avenue we're still addressing.
Okay. Any questions from the board?
Are they going to, or will they attach a map of where it is?
Yes, they will. They'll do that, and that'll be in the final documentation.
Thank you.
So this is just to authorize you to enter into the easement agreement. Is there a motion on this?
I'll make a motion to authorize the administrator to enter into a construction and easement agreement with SMUD, granting a 5-foot construction and maintenance easement in Village Park.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. That was the one there. 7.4. 7.4 is approval of the contract with I don't know how you say that.
AECom.
For Phoenix Park CEQA study.
Good evening, once more, Board of Directors. I'm still Sean Ventura, Parks and Facilities Manager, as far as I can tell. So this is in relation to an approval you gave us last month at the meeting of the Board of Directors for the improvements at Phoenix Park. We were given approval to apply for the Land and Water Conservation Fund as part of funding the improvements at Phoenix Park. One of the requirements of that grant funding is that we have a completed CEQA study by 6 months after granting the grant. So it's better to get this started early because the delays on a project like this can mount up. The companies such as AECom are pretty overloaded right now. So the sooner we get on the books, the sooner we can get them running. If we do not have the completed CEQA study by the end of their deadline, that 6-month period after the grant deadline, which is June 1st, then we would not be eligible. So we asked for approval to enter into a contract to enact that CEQA study so that we can have all our.
So Sean, does this just include the non-vernal pool area? So the construction area?
Yeah, it wouldn't just be the construction areas. So it would include the undeveloped area in the center and likely the parking area next to the Phoenix Gardens there.
So this is kind of ahead of the game. We don't know what the project description is or what the proposal is, but this will get them on board. But they won't begin the study until we've done the outreach and have have a concept?
I can't effectively answer that. They may start it now just to stay ahead of the game. Whether or not there are environmental impacts really doesn't matter, depending like whether we put a bathroom there or a playground there. There's still going to be the disturbance of the ground. There's still going to be changes in water flow. So they're going to have to check for all this stuff, whether there's environmental impacts, whether there's indigenous artifacts in the ground, all those things. They're going to have to check for that no matter what we put in the site. So starting now probably wouldn't hurt us. I don't think they'll be able to start immediately though, just because they are overloaded. So it might take some time.
Yeah, about the only thing I guess they could do would do the research on the site, the environment it's in, but it seems to me they really need to have a detailed project description to determine what type of environmental report to do. It might be a categorical exemption, it might be a negative declaration, it might be I doubt it would be a full EIR. It seems to me they're going to have to know a little more about what we're doing before, other than just a real general thing, before they can really produce the report.
But there is some research that they can do, that they can begin the preliminary write-up.
Right.
But you are correct. They need to know what the footprint's going to be, and what it's going to consist of.
And we are in communication. I am still in communication with them as we have done outreaches. I've started passing info on to our contacts over at AECom to keep them apprised of it. So if we do get this approval, they'll do what they can with the information they have.
So
as they outreach.
who's going to take the lead on this for AECom?
I don't have an exact answer on that. My contact so far has been Matt Kirby.
So the question I would have is, one of the questions I would have is, do we want this to encompass all of the park except for the vernal pools? Presuming we might come up with some ideas to do some work either for additional parking somewhere or renovating the soccer field. We want to include that, or do we want to keep it small?
The challenge is the fiscal challenge of developing the rest of the park. We have not identified the funding mechanisms to do that. If we do get the land and water conservation funds, we're still tight on development money for that parcel and the parking that we're talking about. So I think what we'll find is that we just don't have funds to go through a full development of that park right away. And the CEQA study will expire, I believe it's 3 years, something like that.
Well, just in the event that we do some additional parking soon, it might be nice to have to think about areas where we may have funding to do something and include them in there. So,
And I think you're right, because around the perimeter of that vacant space, we will be looking at that as potential usages. And then some of it may be parking, who knows?
Okay, and this is not to exceed 69,424, so it could come in less when you actually define the project.
Correct.
AECom's a big company. They've been in business for a long, long time. I worked 10, 15 years ago on a lot of projects with the firm. The person that I worked with at the time, he's moved on, but they're very reputable.
Do we have a motion? Oh,
Was AECom the only company that was looked at?
Correct. And primarily because we've worked with them on specifically the village project in the past, and they produce good work, timely fashion, and a reasonable price.
And then in the stamp or the contractor that they provided, they did have at the very end a task list where it showed that if they had started on April 7th, they anticipated being done August 31st. Is that pretty accurate? If they were to start like the end of April, they could be done by the end of September.
That's a great question. I lean on their expertise on that one. But we had a very quick turnaround on we had a negative declaration over here, I believe, and that was a very quick turnaround. So I'm confident that if they state they can do it in a time frame, that they will be able to.
That's a good time frame.
so who will be working with them specifically to feed them all the data? Is that you or Mike or another staff member?
As far as I'm aware right now, that will be.
And you think the 69,000 falls in the range of what we paid for other similar work? Okay, do we have a motion?
I will Move to approve the contract with ADCOM for the Phoenix Park SEQA study.
I'll second.
Any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. We shall move on to item number 7.5. That's a receive and file the 2022 State Controller's Office Local Government Compensation Report.
Yes, thank you. I'm Jennifer Larkin, the Administrative Services Manager, and this item is just a receive and file, meaning you don't need to take any action on it. But we do like to present it to you before we submit for the year. What this is a report on all compensation received by all employees of the district for the calendar year 2022. It's compiled from our payroll data, benefits data, and just some calculations that we do in addition. And there are no names attached. It does go to the State Controller's Office. They have a link to it on their webpage, and it is for transparency, and it happens every year.
It's public knowledge. Is this the one that came out of the Bell, California fiasco? Any questions? None? Nope.
No.
Right, and the required action is to receive and file, so we don't need a motion. Thank you, Jennifer. No questions from anybody else outside? Okay, then we'll move on to 7.6, which is adoption of a resolution amending the 2022-2023 fiscal year budget to reflect the purchase of an ADA accessible front desk for the district office.
Yes, this is me again, Jennifer Larkin, Administrative Services Manager. This is a housekeeping item. You have seen this come to you a couple of times. Back in 2022, we had an overall office refresh for the district office. This was one of the items in that project. Unfortunately, even though we ordered the desk in that fiscal year, we didn't actually get the desk this fiscal year. And so we need to move funds now in order to reimburse the account that we paid the funds out of initially. The desk cost was $13,651. It's a beautiful piece of furniture. We're very happy with it. And
I'm glad we're finally doing that.
Yeah, that makes ADA.
yeah,
Absolutely.
I'm going to go into the desk building business.
we had to do a lot of fitting and modifications
Yes.
to it to make it work in our space.
That's almost twice what I paid for my new couch from Love Seat. But that's leather and has 4 recliners in it.
Wow.
But it's not ADA.
But I can get in and out of it, so it is. All right, so this is kind of a bookkeeping item. That's the new desk that's in place that I enjoyed sitting at with Paula last week, buying my tickets. So, any questions from the board?
No.
Is there, we need a motion on that?
I'll make a motion to adopt resolution number 041923-01 to amend fiscal year 22-23 to reflect an appropriation of additional funds in the equipment account and then decrease in the unreserved fund balance for the purchase of the ADA accessible desks.
I'll second that if I may. Is there any further discussion? All in favor? Aye. Unanimous. All on the same page tonight. Looks like that's the end of the action items. So we move on now to board and staff reports. Sean, do you have anything?
Just a question. The fundraising effort for the arts and entertainment across the street, dinner in the garden, how's that going?
Oh, I'm so sorry. I know this. Email. Go for it. I'm sorry.
So how are we progressing on the dinner in the garden and sale of tickets and doing weather forecasts and?
You're still on part of my my update, but we're doing really good. We only have 3 tickets left.
Really?
So just about sold out. things are progressing along greatly now. We just had a meeting prior to this. And yeah, everything's looking good. Weather forecast, kind of hard to tell this far out, but we're our fingers crossed we have great weather.
Good job. That's what I want.
That's it. Yeah, there you go. So yeah, everything's going well. We're for a great event.
So 3 tickets left out of how many total we have?
Approximately 120-ish.
Wow. Well, that'll raise some money for the, if I recall, it's for chairs for the Black Box Theater, or is it specific?
Yeah, chairs and risers for facility.
Good. So, that's really great news. Linda, did you have anything else? No, Linda?
I just wanted to bring up the topic of forming an advisory committee made up of community members, perhaps tailoring it though, so that way it is tied to perhaps like a group of individuals, like a committee or like more like a advisory group or advisory board tied to say like a project. So maybe a group of like 3 to 5 community members that are participants in, for example, the Phoenix Park master plan, or going back to like the theater, like how to do arts and entertainment, kind of something like that, making it so that it is has like a framework to it, so it's small, like maybe 3 to 5 members. It's limited in scope because you're picking, say, like an individual project compared to like all matters, and then also by limiting it to scope, it would be limited time. So it wouldn't be something that community members would feel they have to dedicate, 3 to 5 years to. It could be 6 months or something shorter, something kind of. I'm trying to think of ways to involve more community members in what we do, but from a more informal advisory discussion.
I mean, this whole concept goes back to pre-Mike, and it's been kicked around for a long time. And at one point, we were talking about a standing board, and we kind of walked away from that. But I would agree with Linda is that it would show, our interest in bringing more people in for a specific period of time and a specific project to just provide some guidance. Doesn't mean that we have to agree with everything that they say, but at least it's an important role, I think, that we could include in our deliberations.
Yeah, kind of similar to what we have with the Youth Advisory Board or our Bond Oversight Committee. We have people that are feeding more ideas into the board than our 5 members. I've always thought it's a good idea. I'm not sure what the structure would be. I tend to be more on the side of a standing committee with, rotational members. We had that when we did the bond issue too. We had our committee, which was probably responsible for the success of the bond measure.
Yeah, and I know right now Nick is talking about coming from a meeting. They have a group there. How many folks?
About 7.
7 that are working on that dinner as a volunteer group, as to your point, it's a short-term type of thing. I would hope that we can identify with the new person we bring on, identify a way to keep that group engaged in different components, depending on what components we're working on at that point in time. As the bond oversight, I would, at some point in time, I would make the proposal that we keep that group going, even after the bond's done, and let them be that advisory role in a variety of different places. Plus, as Director O'Farrell had mentioned earlier, a way to bring people along into the government process. So potential board members even, and you saw that with Director Mounts, that he came up through that process. That's one thing I would propose later. That's not ready yet because bond oversight has a defined obligation that they have to do at this moment. But they are helping with Phoenix Master Plan outreach at this very moment. They'll be there, and they're actually going to walk the construction site next 2 weeks from now as well. So there are opportunities for that. you're going to hear about something here in my report too, for another option of that happening coming up. And so I think we have some, it's just a matter of, we don't have them as defined as you're talking about.
Mike, is
We
there
have the
anybody
models
on
and
on the bond oversight committee that lives in the Phoenix Park area? 'Cause I think it's important if, you know, as we move forward
Yeah.
with the Phoenix Park master plan, that we at least have some representation from
Yeah.
some locals.
Yeah,
Maybe we can bring some more people on the bond oversight committee specifically from that area to address what we're spending over there.
yeah, and you know, as we do the outreach, we have another outreach meeting coming up, May at some point. Second, coming right up. We can actually ask that group if they would be interested in them continuing to participate in the development of this project. I think that would be very worthwhile. Do they live there near the park? Probably. I can't tell you that for sure, but probably a good chunk of them that do live near the park. So, and that, I think that would be a great way of doing that as well.
So I like your idea, Mike, because, you know, to have another committee on board right now kind of puts a big workload on, but I'd like to see this committee not end with the bond construction, just morph into that kind of advisory committee. And that helps us with issues. It helps when old timers on the board finally decide to give up the ghost.
Oh, Ralph, you're going to be here in 10. You're going to be here when Warren's 110.
And so
In that regard, you kind of looking at what we already have, I mean, that already have set up. I would also like to see the Fair Oaks Youth Advisory Board provide more advisory, if you will, because I feel like they are really fantastic at being a part of the community and participating in events. And but I would love to see, like, for example, the Phoenix Park feedback that we received. I'd love to hear from high school students.
Yeah, exactly.
Or some, I remember years ago, we had a little boy that came to our meeting and he talked about how there was no standalone basketball near Phoenix Park. There was no place he could ride his bike to and play basketball. And I still remember, I don't remember his name, but I remember it was important enough to him that he came, you know, so I would love to get the feedback of maybe some of the kids that are our teens that are on the Fair Oaks advisory board in that regard too.
so that speaks to what the charter or the mission of this committee would be when it morphs, you know, and what makeup. I would think we'd want to have representatives from our major community partners, as well as the youth advisory board, and give them a mission, you know, describe for them what we want. We want input on where we're falling short on recreation or on capital facilities or whatever, so we get more than this audience here.
One things that they like, they would like to see more of, or replicated in other spots throughout Fair Oaks.
Why don't you guys on staff be thinking about how we can morph the committee when the appropriate time? Anything more? The thing I wanted to raise, and I've talked to Mike about, is, you know, we had a kind of a false start on our arts and entertainment not director, but what do you call it?
Position.
Vision. And one of the things that I want to see us do as a board and staff and community partners is to try to come up with a common vision of what we expect when the facilities are done. What do we expect in the way of activities and performances and things? Because I think we may all have different visions. I know the community partners have a vision. I have a vision. You probably have a vision, and it seems like our resigned person had a vision, or at least was struggling with the vision. So when we get a new person on board, I'd like to have some kind of get together discussion somehow, so that we all come to a common vision of what things will look like a year after the facilities are done, or 5 years from now? Are we envisioning
You're talking about program.
programming? Yeah, do we? Mike had presented a long time ago what's going on up in Washington, where something's happening every week, something little and all, and that may be one vision. Another vision might be we're the new Mondani Center or something, which I don't think is our vision.
Or B Street.
Yeah, we don't have either the capacity or the parking or probably the clout to do stuff like that. But if we can get a picture of where we'd like to be, then we can give the new employee a much better starting point. So that's my skill.
Yeah, and as I mentioned, we do have the report that you approved, and the direction you've approved based on our report that was done a year and a half ago, 2 years ago. I'm incorporating that into it as well and saying that's the direction we're currently following is from that report, the presenter and the host model for those events, and then the volume of events and the types of events that were lacking in the area. So those are right now, that's kind of the model that we're basing our operational outline on. And outline's probably the right answer. It's a very loose outline. Yes, it should be tightened up.
It seems like now's the time to revisit that with our partners, with our directors, with perhaps the recreation staff at least, and on the park side, just to go into the kickoff with the new person with a common direction. Yeah. So that's my spiel. Items from staff now.
Sean.
Sure.
Good evening, Board of Directors. Sean Ventura, Parks and Facilities Manager. Sorry, that gets tiring. I have 2 items for you. I've been kind of juggling whether to do the fun one first or the boring one first. I'm going to go fun because my park worker, Matt Ellis, is on with us today, and I wanted to celebrate him because he had a milestone achievement here with the Park District. Matt Ellis has been with us for 2 years now, and he's been doing great services for the Park District, working really, really hard and doing a great job every single day. But what I really wanted to focus on today is that Matt Ellis has single-handedly applied for a scholarship through CPRS, received that scholarship for funding to take a certified playground safety inspector training. And he has just this last week completed that training and taken his test and succeeded. And so he is now the district's, the first in a long time, certified playground safety inspector. Care to say a few words about it?
Yeah, thank you. I'm excited to be representing Fair Oaks as a CPSI. In just the 2 years I've been working here, I've had a lot of thoughts about what brings people to the parks, and more so I fall back on it's people bringing their kids to go play on the playground. And I think it's, sometimes, it's a structure, it's built, sometimes can be just thought that it's perfect, ready to go. But with the amount of usage that they get, and just the foot traffic that are having a great time using our structures and playgrounds, they really do. They require a lot of inspecting and a lot of climbing around like a kid on the playground to make sure that they're safe for them. But I'm proud and happy that I could pass that test.
Congratulations, and glad to have you, doing this stuff.
Thank you.
Doing all that, the shredded tires, which is 140 degrees when you fell into it.
It believe it or not, rubber tires do have great safety attenuation for the surfacing, believe it or not.
I
Thank-
would go to the test, but I never was very good at monkeypox, so I wouldn't do it. Will you be available for loan out to nearby park districts too for certification then? Just within our own district?
Currently, at this point, we do not have the equipment to do a full safety inspection, like impact attenuation. That equipment is rather expensive, and as Matt was telling me from his class, it's still recommended that you contract that out to a certified professional for those sort of tests. I'm sure Matt would be really excited to continue to do playground inspections of parks, but as anybody on my staff can tell you, we're always slammed. So sharing them among districts would be a little tight.
Well, oversight of the people we contract for that, you'll have skills to do that professionally. Very good.
Thank you, Matt.
Thank you.
And then on to the less fun one, the FEMA process. As you know, we had a federally declared disaster event at the beginning of January. I've spoken to you before about the trees that came down in the parks, our artificial 30-foot tall tree, which came down, flooding in our village hall building. We are attempting to receive funding through FEMA disaster relief on all of those projects. I just wanted to give you a brief update on that process. We are moving along steadily. I had a meeting with the FEMA site inspectors just this Monday. It was a very riveting 7-hour meeting. We went to all of our sites. We identified damages. We identified root balls that were upturned. We took a look at village hall. Sorry. You will probably see moving forward that we're going to attempt to perform a long-term mitigation fix for the leak in Village Hall, and that is our goal is to fund that through what we found to be called FEMA's PA 406 mitigation program, which is essentially funding to fix these problems so they don't recur year after year after year. So we are moving forward that steadily. I'm working hard on that almost every single day, and I'll keep you apprised of any significant progress we make.
What would they do with regard to the leak in Village Hall? Would they provide funding to dig that all out and drain it properly?
That is the goal. So I'm still working through that process. I'm in contact with a lady from Cal OES. So the 406 mitigation program typically gets handed off to state agencies from what I've learned recently. And I'll be working closely with her and other members of Cal OES to attempt to fully fund the repairs mitigation measures for that facility.
And we're working on isolating those costs from our construction crews as we're going forward, because there is a timing issue. We can't wait a long time to do the mitigating work and still keep our project done on time. So we're trying to coordinate the isolation of those expenses so we're able then to submit them to FEMA for possible reimbursement.
Not only that, but we should be able to save some money by performing the fixes while the ground is broken, rather than having to break it again in the future.
So would this funding be retroactive after we do the work? For example, all down trees, presumably we'll have them all cut up and removed before we get any payment, right?
Yes. So at this point, my contact, his name is Grady over at FEMA. He's our project coordinator there. He's just waiting for invoices. For example, our 30-foot tall Christmas tree. We are looking to purchase that potentially next week. If I can get the invoice for that, I can send it over to them and they'll write us a check. So once the projects are completed and they're formally listed as completed in their grants portal, then they'll start sending us money.
So you get the pre-approval, then you do the work, then you get the money.
Correct.
You're aware there's several trees down in the Arcade Creek area over there too, right?
Absolutely.
I just discovered those.
Yeah, so the one that's across the pathway there, that one counts as a hazard. The other ones off to the side, not so much. So it was a little eye-opening doing the site visit with them because they determine what a hazard is a little bit differently than what I would determine that. So some of the trees won't be funded. They're also very, very hyper-focused on trees where the root balls were pulled up because they could potentially have indigenous artifacts in the root balls. So it's an interesting process.
So you need to do an EIR and everything.
Very possibly, yes.
I mean, some of the root balls that I've seen on the parkway, they're huge. They're 15, 18 feet, off the bottom.
Yeah,
So
and
there are
so,
probably gold nuggets in there. You never know.
I'll go back and check. So far, a lot of them, a lot of them have been in sites where the soil was already disturbed. So
Right.
where construction is happening, we're less worried about those.
You hope there are no skeletons that come up with the ripple.
Any questions on those two items? Thank you for your time.
Thank you. I think you got something?
Good evening, board directors, Nick Davis, and recreation manager. I just want to make a couple notes about some recent events that we had. We had our Easter extravaganza a few weeks back, and I know a few board members were there in attendance. It was wildly successful and very well attended. I think it was our most attended Easter event that we've ever had. So it's really great to be able to offer those free community events, and just great to see how many people actually come out to them and really get to enjoy them. So it's a great win for our district. Another smaller event that we had, but unique to Fair Oaks, so we had a vernal pool tour that we worked with Sacramento Splash on. We had approximately about 90 people come out to do tours throughout the day this past Sunday. And it was really neat to see what they offer. They did about an hour tour with multiple different groups throughout the area, just showing them the different habitats, how vernal pools are formed, and why it's so unique to our area. So it's really a great program. And we have another one coming up May 2nd that should show more of the flower bloom that will be occurring here over the next couple of weeks. I got to go on the tour for about 45 minutes until my youngest kid decided to get flowers he wasn't supposed to and walk in areas that he was not allowed to and imitating birds that he saw. So we became a little bit of a nuisance, so we had to leave early, unfortunately, but it was a very great informational program Sacramento Splash had for us. A couple upcoming events that we have, Kids Art on the 29th of April, that's in conjunction with San Juan Unified School District. And then we have the Garden for the Arts on May 13th, which we just about sold out on. Another thing I wanted to note too is we have a registration opening tomorrow for our preschool. We do expect a line out the door come tomorrow morning. And some people plan on coming really early to make sure they get a spot in our preschool. So it really just shows how valued our preschool is and how great of a job our staff is doing down there.
So, Nick, how many teams can you take?
How many what?
How many teams can you take for softball?
Teams for softball?
Yeah.
For softball, we could take, we're doing 2 nights right now, we could take about, I would say, 30-ish teams. Yeah. And one other thing that I wanted to mention that was some interesting data that we received today. So we met with our representative with our software that does our registration, so SmartRec. Mike, myself, and Chelsea Adams, we met with them to go over Q1 data. And some of the data that really stood out to us was a comparison from last year to this year, Q1. We had an increase in revenues of 69% from last year to this year. So that was really awesome to see. And another thing that's kind of unique that they provided us was self-serve checkouts. One of our goals is to have ease of use for customers to be able to register for programs and or rent picnic areas from us or ball fields. We had an increase, well, last year it was 40% of the people that checked out didn't self-serve. This year we're at 65%. So we're seeing some growth there, and I anticipate us seeing even more growth. They provided us some numbers too. Since our update on the website, we've seen a growth there of self-serve checkout because it's now easily identifiable and easier to even navigate our registration platform via our website. So really good things from that quarterly report, and we expect other great
Was it able to tell Nick on the revenues, what, if it was cost restrictions that were up, or if it was facility reservations? Or
So that was a
breakdown?
combination of both classes and, so yeah, really hard to differentiate that.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you.
Any more from staff?
Jen, did you have anything? I have a few, maybe a quick construction update. At your last meeting, you asked me if there was an incentive for the construction firm to finish early. There is not one in the agreement. The reason being is if there's an issue beyond the contractor's control, like the water issue at the clubhouse, the paving of the road around the park, we could potentially see the contractor charge us for lost opportunities if then say we would have finished earlier if it wasn't for this. And the other piece is there's times like when it was bad weather, we really don't want them. We don't want them putting stuff together during that time frame. So that's the two main reasons why it's not in here.
It was never in the original contract then.
No, it wasn't a good practice. They recognized it mostly for the lost opportunity issue.
Yeah.
They knew that something would come up that could cause problems, and like the water issue.
It's good for Caltrans and CC Myers, but not for us.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay.
All right. And just the positive, one of the great updates, if you've been into the village, you've seen the building.
It's incredible.
We're seeing a building. Yeah, and it's like, wow.
So they're doing a fundraiser for FOVAC tonight over at the Ruba, and I talked to two different people, and they said, this is incredible. Nobody had any idea the scope and the size, what's going on there.
Yeah, it is impressive. So
I have a few comments about the size. It kind of
when there's nothing there and now there's something, yeah, it's a big something. All right. And then I do have one other thing, and I'm sort of request to the board. I would, to get an item placed on the agenda, I need to ask the board if we can do this. It would be about parking. I'd like to start a outreach for parking with the community, and maybe even getting a committee together to begin looking at some of the challenges that we will be facing coming up in parking, or what I believe we will be facing. We have 98 spots around the park that will be open to the public when we're fully open. Between the shopping and eating in the village, the recreational users, the ones going on a run or down to the American River Parkway, probably some employees, miscellaneous users, and then our events, and then maybe even community events, we're going to be soft on parking.
So,
and I would like to begin the process, the dialogue with the community, with the businesses, with everybody to try and identify some mitigations for that. I think we have I have a sample here from Carmel. We've been following their outreach for parking. They have a parking challenge very similar to ours. It's a little bit bigger problem than ours, but the issues are the same. And they are going on a 1-year community engagement process with their parking. And I think it's a worthy process to follow and then to start moving with this. And not just our parking, but incorporate the other issues. You recognize some of the other issues. We don't control those issues, but they impact us as well. Those issues being that the business is saying these parking spots are ours. You can only use them if you're using our business. And FOVAC's been working on it, but we will have the most parking spots in the village, and we would sure like to have our participants in our programs and then also renting our facilities have a place to park.
yeah, I think we can play a big role. Like I mentioned to you in front of the Quonset huts, somebody has yellow marked the curb for loading zone, taken away 2 or 3 spaces. I don't know if that's authorized, and I still don't understand the issue of all the parking in front of the businesses on Fair Oaks Boulevard, whether those are privately owned or part of the county.
It's public right away. They can't do that.
Well, if it is, I'm concerned when they start taking, like it's the one, I think.
The only one where the Shangri-La is, that's private property. So that
Yeah.
they carved that out, but I don't think that they can designate, for runway salon or.
Yeah. And, one of the restaurants up there has blocked off certain space for outdoor dining. I don't know if that's authorized or not.
That was
Was it?
By
They
the
own
county.
that?
By the county.
Okay. Well, I think all of that ought to be taken into consideration. We provide our parking spaces to the public for general use. And I guess if the village wants to use our spaces, we have a little leverage over everybody providing those spaces for activities, which could maybe leverage employee parking in the AT&T lot, or getting rid of some of these special designations that people have approached on.
The biggest unused parking lot is right as you come into the village, the old Withrow project, all the stackables over there. There's probably 50 or 60 spaces there that are never used at all.
So,
So I'm asking for, basically for the agenda, for our spots specifically, but it will bleed into everything else. There's no question. OPEC needs to take, Farrell's Village Enhancement Committee needs to take the lead, and maybe even the chamber, on those other elements. We're just a player in this overall big puzzle.
yeah, well, I think
Because we don't control the private spots or anything like that.
but we do control our own spots.
But we are
do
controlling
have
those,
park police to enforce,
Yeah.
so,
And we're the
I would
bigger
say-
player. Yeah.
we're the big dog in the fight,
Yeah.
or in the.
Mike, has anybody ever done a parking availability census for the
No, they
village?
haven't. And that I'm hoping again with the outreach that we'll start moving in some kind of direction along those lines. It may be that we fall back just into our spots and deal with our spots specifically. But because otherwise we're talking another study, another plan, which we aren't in the position to pay for. I don't believe we're in the position. to
But
pay
we
for
can
it.
be the catalyst in the discussion. because
Exactly.
We have a big stake with the events we're going to be putting on, which, one of the arguments is that benefits all the merchants and restaurants. So we're all in this together, but we can play a big role, and I would like to see it on the agenda. I don't know if I can.
Basically, all I'm going to ask for is permission to work, and then I'll be giving you updates as we go forward.
Well, I'm the chair tonight, so I give you permission. if I-
You have to have it on the agenda. This would be an agendized item because
Yeah.
it could have some political ramifications, and I would prefer to have a vote for that, and that the public's aware of it, and maybe have an opportunity to comment even during that agenda item, if it does hit the agenda. Because at some point in time, I have no doubt that the public's going to comment.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, when we have that item, we need to do, some dedicated outreach to
Mhm.
the businesses and not just put it on our agenda.
Well, we get that part.
Make sure, I'm sure you'll have a bit planned, but that means, I don't want to hear, well, we didn't know about that. It was on your agenda, you posted it. You know what I'm talking about.
See, I think this is a FOVEC task, but I think we should be in there. You should have the authorization to be in there to speak for the district and our spaces and our needs, and what we can also provide to the whole village, the whole community, because we have some give and take. We have a lot of control with the number of spaces we have.
And ours are on Park District property.
Yeah.
Well, the majority of it is.
We can all be proprietary about our spaces, or we can all be open, work democratic and work together, yeah. So I don't know if I have the authority to say, yes, put it on the next agenda, but if Darren.
As long as I got a directive from any one of the board members, we can then.
You say
I
you
think
do.
you know you have the direction.
Okay, perfect.
I support it.
We'll get it on the next one's agenda. And the final thing I have is just a little update on some of the presentations and outreaches we've been doing as this project's progressing. Village Plaza Park's been progressing. I didn't do a full count of it, but I've done 18 live presentations, monthly presentations with FOVEC on the project. So for 18 months, I've been doing these live updates. I've a couple of upcoming ones right now. I've got one April 25th with the Historical Society. I'll be doing one at their meeting. And then on June 16th, I'll be doing one at the Orangevale Rotary. Yeah, so, I'm trying to get out there as much as I can, really share the progress and hear the folks out there. I hope that that's having some impact positive with the projects.
I think it is, and if every agency was that transparent and that open, we'd have a really wonderful world.
That's all I have.
Thank you. If there's nothing further, I'll entertain a motion to adjourn to the meeting of May 17th, regular meeting, at 6 p.m. Motion by Linda.
I'll second.
All in favor?